back to another episode of the Thanks for Rolling podcast. I'm Jeff. I'm here with Pat. Good morning.
Morning, Jeff.
A little Saturday morning action today. So, Pat, we have probably the most special guest that we've had.
Indeed.
Yeah, special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kate, Pat's wife.
Hello, Kate, Pat's wife. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
This has been a long time coming, right? We've gestated this idea for probably a couple months at this point.
Yeah, it's been taking some time to get the stars and the schedules to align.
Right. Yep. We had to make sure that Kate was properly prepared, that Pat fed me a bunch of questions to put her on the spot, et cetera, right?
Yeah, so this will be a fun one because Kate does not do jiu-jitsu. So our first guest that does not actively train.
Right.
But she's the co-owner of a jiu-jitsu academy.
Right. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you guys was, aside from being co-owner of a jiu-jitsu academy and working full-time and parenting full-time, you have something else that goes on in your lives. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, small little horse farm. It really is a small horse farm. We have 3 horses, 2 donkeys. We have chickens. I don't actually know how many chickens we have.
A bunch.
And then we've got 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a Flemish giant rabbit.
How do you keep track of all that?
Very tight schedule. Yeah, very tight schedule. Very good, routine.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask that. Take a step back though. How did all that come to be? Right? I mean, I just listed off parenting, full-time job, jiu-jitsu gym, and we add farm with, I don't know how many animals you just listed off, like 10. How did that come to be?
Yeah. It escalated quickly once we got the first horse. But I've always been an animal lover, and we've always had a lot of dogs. That also escalated quickly throughout our relationship. We started with 1 and then got a second, and then, it just went from there. And then when we moved back east, because we lived in Arizona for 9 years, we had chickens in Arizona. That was actually Pat's little project. He wanted to get chickens, and so we started with chickens in Arizona. We were limited to 10, so that's all we had when we lived there. And we just had the chickens and the dogs, and we had a Alexandrian parakeet as well in Arizona. So that was our animals there. So, and then when we moved back east, it just kind of grew from there. We had to get cats at our old house because we had a bad mice problem.
Yeah, severe mouse problem. 100-year-old house.
Yeah, so many mice. And so
it worked.
It did. They went away the day we got the cat.
Wow, that's crazy. Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
So that's where we got the cats. And then the rabbit came when we got chickens in Connecticut, because I went to buy the chickens and I was like, I really want a Flemish giant rabbit. And then I came home with chickens and a rabbit. And that's a lot of...
That sounds similar to another story I think you told recently about a dog that you went to do something else and came home with a dog.
Yes. Yep. Our dog, Maddie, who actually recently passed away, but I got her when I went to buy dog food, and there was an adoption event at the pet store, and came home with Maddie.
So what's his reaction when that happens?
He's just... What is it?
Well, for Maddie, he wasn't super nice. He was like, what is that rat? And then later in the day, he's, cuddling on the couch with her.
Yeah.
But...
You can rinse and repeat that story.
Yeah.
Just a couple of times. Not that many. Just with Zoe and Maple, and I think that's it. Remy.
So lessons learned is that Kate can't go to the store by herself without adult supervision.
Yeah, that's why everything gets delivered now.
Right. Did you have a lot of animals growing up?
We had dogs growing up and rabbits.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's it.
How about you, Pat?
Yeah, just dogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah.
how did horses get into the picture?
Yeah. So horses, I've always been interested in riding. I've always loved horses. I took a couple of lessons in high school and stuff like that. But always wanted a horse. And then with Tay, our son, so he's got some special needs, and one of them is sensory processing disorder. So, which means it's kind of hard to explain, but he needs a lot of sensory input in order for him to kind of like be regulated. And so when we moved back east, my mom, who's an occupational therapist, had suggested therapeutic horseback riding. So we started with that, and it was life-changing. Like the first time he was on a horse blew my mind. At the time, he was doing this thing, it's called Echolalia, which is he like would script from TV shows or whatever. And that was essentially the only communication that he had, was just like scripting off of TV shows. And the first time he was on a horse was the first time he went 45 minutes without doing that. And I was just like, take all of my money.
No kidding.
This
Wow.
is the most amazing experience. And so we started with him going and doing that at a farm in East Longmeadow. And then he did that for a couple of years. I actually ended up volunteering there, which was really special to like help these kids through their therapeutic riding. It was amazing, and being around the horses. And so he kind of graduated from that program a little bit, and we decided to try just regular horseback riding lessons. We found a really special instructor and farm in East Granby, and he started taking lessons there. That escalated to us getting a horse. And she was boarded at that farm, and it was just a really good situation. But then we got a horse farm, and then you can't just have one horse because they're herd animals. So then we got a second horse when we moved home with the horses. And then our friends have donkeys, and they're really cool. And then we rescued 2 donkeys, and it's just kind of gone from there.
Yeah.
So
That is cool. I didn't know any of that. That's great.
yeah.
Just something to know about Kate is things that she wanted and could not have in her childhood, she makes sure happen in adulthood.
Yeah. I can totally empathize with that. Totally. When I think about like why I am certain things, it's like, oh yeah, because I couldn't do that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the first house we bought, it was just bright colors on every wall because
Yeah.
she grew up with white walls to, be good for resale and
Yep.
that whole jam.
Yep. Like I wasn't allowed to have a Game Boy when I was growing up, so I bought one of those for myself when I was an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. I can totally empathize with that.
Don't
Absolutely.
need this. Going to buy myself a Game Boy.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we all do to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
most people don't go from 0 to horse farm.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
It was for Tay,
Yeah, it's just horsemanship is usually one of those things that people like learn and work on since they were a kid. And
yeah.
jumping in your late 30s like we did, I don't think is very typical.
No.
It's a lot to learn.
Yep. And it's been an educational experience, but it's been amazing. And Tay, how important it is for him has just been mind blowing.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. That's really, really cool.
Yep.
When you came in, you were reading an article. How did you learn? So obviously I've been to your guys' house. I've seen you take care of them. Like you post some videos and stuff of taking care of the animals. How did you learn all that?
Through friends. So the riding instructor that we were with in East Granby is a good friend, and she has been instrumental in helping us. But then also just reading a lot and, following advice on Facebook or, reading articles, doing research. I mean, they're big animals, and they're actually pretty delicate. And so you just have to be very careful with, what you feed, how you change things with them. And so just a lot of research, really.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
I always think about horses as, like people grow up, like we have cats, we have dogs. And then I feel like there's obviously like fish and like turtles and stuff like that. But like, I was just going to say, like, when I think about real animals, no disrespect to turtles and lizards or anything else, I wouldn't consider real animals. But like, I always think about like dogs, cats, and horses. Like you always like, I grew up in Western Mass, and there was a lot of
horse
kids
farms.
who had fun. Yeah, exactly. It just seemed like totally natural, right?
Yep.
Like it's always like that next continuation of kind of, I don't want to call them pets, right? Because they're not really like, I don't think of them that way, but so it's just interesting.
Yeah, but for people that aren't familiar with that lifestyle, it's mind-blowing that someone just has horses living in their backyard.
Yeah.
Yep.
My daughter still talks about them. I think I was telling Pat, like, she doesn't remember their names, but she talks about the big horse that was really big and his lips were flapping the entire time, right? So it was really funny. So what's the routine like? I mean, with everything you have going on, like what's your routine like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, my routine is, so I usually get up between like 4:15 and 4:30 in the morning.
Before the enemy.
Before the enemy.
Yeah,
Yep.
you already lost me.
I feed the dogs and cats, and then they go back to bed. I then will go work out, and then I will go and feed the horses and the donkeys. And that routine, I posted like a time lapse of it. So I feed them. One of our horse, Cliff, he takes a long time to eat. So while he's finishing eating, I start to muck the stalls. I get all the stalls mucked in the morning, let Cliff back out, and then they are just out, and then I'm done in the morning with them. Once I get the stalls mucked, and then usually I'll then shower, start working. I'm a pharmacist by trade, but I do accreditation for my company, which is a work from home job, which is great. And then around like 3:00 in the afternoon, they have to eat afternoon hay. And so I will run out there and throw a half a bale of hay at them, not at them, but like into the paddock, and then they eat it. And then in the evening, I'll usually like go put down shavings, fill up water buckets, stuff like that after work, which is getting trickier this time of year. I hate when the hoses freeze. We don't have the opportunity to have, so a lot of farms will have frost-free hydrants so they can have water year-round at the barn. We don't have that opportunity just because of how rocky the ground is at our house. There's no way to run a line from the house to the barn. So I have a hose that I have to drag out every day to fill up water in the winter, which is so much fun. And then so I'll do that stuff in the afternoon, just kind of like prep the stalls for night. And then the dogs will eat dinner at like 6:00, and then the horses eat around between 7 and 8. And then I will let them back in. So turning in, the video I posted of them turning in was a very calm turning in. I've actually kind of gotten a better routine, so I'm not like dodging horses coming flying in. One of our horses, Cliff, he's an ex-race horse actually, and he brings that out when it's time to come in at night. So he like flies into the barn, and you just got to get out of his way. Yeah. But our big horse, Thor, our Belgian draft horse, he has to be the first one in, and then the boys will usually have a little like scuffle with each other. So you just have to be careful when turning in, but I've kind of gotten a safer routine going for that now, and feed them, and that's it. Shut the lights out, go in the house.
Pass out.
No. But I mean, on top of all of that, like, the routine for the animals is one thing. And then I've got Tay's stuff that he's got going on different nights too. So navigating that on top of all of the chores and stuff.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's impressive. Why does Thor have to go in first?
Because he's a turd.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
big fat jerk.
He is. Yeah.
That's the horse, by the way, we were talking about this lip slapping that my daughter was talking about.
Yeah. He's a huge horse. He's 17 one hands, which if people don't know, that's big. He's like the size of a Clydesdale. That's usually the easiest way to describe him. For people that don't know horses, he's the size of a Clydesdale, and his feet are probably like dinner plate size or like dessert plate sized. He's a big guy. Yeah. And he is the alpha in the pack, in the herd. And so he comes in first.
Does he get mad if like the other one?
Oh, yeah.
He'll charge through.
Yeah.
And that's when things get dicey.
Yeah. Yep. And he'll like turn around and like, so when a horse pins their ears, it means they're mad. See, he pins his ears and like bites at the horse, the other two, to like back up when he's ready to come in first. Yep.
And then they don't just take it. So then they're going to turn around and try to kick him. And so you end up in tight quarters with feet flying around.
Yep. So just for when next time you have to turn in by yourself at night, I put a rope around his neck and I lead him in the stall, and then the other two come in, and it's much safer.
Yeah. So that leads me to the point I was about to make. Everyone here is always asking me, how I do it, how I take care of the animals and work and do the gym. I don't take care of the animals.
Nope. Except for when I travel, which I do have to do for work, and then Pat has to take care of them.
Yeah.
I help with the random chores on the weekends, but day to day is all her.
Yeah, it's impressive. The video you posted of what you call it, turn-in?
Turn-in, yeah.
the other day when it's like the horses come in and you open the door. It looks like you like called to the donkeys and then the two of them come in. Like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's so the donkeys being in the barn is a very new thing. Even when we had a barn before for them to be in, they hated going in. It was always a struggle. And with this new barn, we didn't have them come in for the first month, maybe, because there's still shelter outside for them to have access to. So not to have people think that, well, they're just outside in the cold all night, but they weren't. So the donkeys, the thing with donkeys, people think they're stubborn, but they're not. They're really just cautious, and they have to get used to an idea. They're not going to do something they don't want to do or they don't feel comfortable doing. They have to get used to it. So that was kind of the premise that I worked with the barn. I mean, one reason they didn't come in right away is because we went away almost as soon as we had the barn ready and for 10 days. And I didn't want someone who was house sitting to have to deal with the donkeys not wanting to come in and then feeling like they had to get them in. So let them get used to the fact that there's a barn here. There's a new routine. You know, I would leave the gate open, let them come in and explore. If they wanted to go in the stall, that was great. And they weren't really interested. And then I started showing them that the hay is in the stall. And that's eventually how I got them to come in, is like, okay, well, now your food's in here. And so the video I posted, most nights now, they'll just come in because they know that that's where dinner is and that's fine. That night, I think they were just hanging out outside. Like I may have turned in a little early that night or something. My routine may have been slightly off, which throws them a little bit. So I just showed them a flake of hay, like, okay, dinner's in here, guys, and then they come in. So
it's pretty funny to see them just kind of like saunter in together. Like, I don't know why it just struck me as really funny. How often do you ride? How often do all of you guys ride? Because I know you ride sometimes, Pat, too.
Yeah, very infrequent for me. More so just because of time availability. I'd like to ride more, but it's, weekends are the only time I have when I'm not at the gym, and then it's, get busy with the chores and the other crap, and then it's the end of the day on Sunday, and sometimes just don't feel like it. But Kate probably has a similar sentiment about it. She rides a lot more, but probably not as much as she would like to.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's funny. I heard someone say one time that having a horse and having a horse at home is two different things. I definitely ride less than I did when we didn't have them home. And it's just for it's time. And especially when it gets dark earlier, there's not light. Yep. That makes it really difficult too. So, I mean, I would love to ride, each horse 4 to 5 times a week. I mean, that's actually too much. Like 3 to 4 times a week would probably be appropriate for each. I only ride 2 of the horses. I don't ride Thor right now for a lot of different reasons. But I wish I had more time to ride. So maybe today.
Yeah. Well, environmental conditions, are a lot of it too.
Yeah.
We're continuously working on having a better setup. So now we at least have a dedicated area to ride that the horses don't just hang out in and destroy and tear up. So we have somewhat solid ground to ride on most of the year, and working on getting lights so that she can stretch out these short days of winter to be able to ride more.
Yeah. Is Tay still riding?
So we lost our horse Jewel, who was Tay's horse, in May, and his interest in riding has decreased since then. So our horse Cliff is the horse that Tay will ride moving forward. Our horse Annie, she is really only interested in me riding her, which is fine. And Tay's interest has just kind of decreased a little bit with losing Jewel. He is interested in riding at our friend's house, who does lessons. So we're going to start that back up in the spring, because at this point, if he wants to ride, I'm going to have him ride whoever he wants to ride, because it's such a beneficial thing for him. And if we're going to be able to increase his interest any way we can. So
yeah, that's awesome. Good. Yep. So how come you've never done jiu-jitsu, or have you done jiu-jitsu, I should say?
I have done a little bit with Pat. He's taught me a couple of different things, which I could not remember what they are at this point, but I am not a huge fan of getting choked. Like, that's just not something I'm super interested in. But at the same time, it really just does come down to time. Like, I have told Pat a few times, like, oh, you know, maybe I'll try and start going to like Monday, Wednesday classes. And then, you know, 10 million things happen with Tay and other obligations come up and I just can't get here. So it really just does come down to time and priorities at this point.
As soon as I asked you that, I was like, oh, that was kind of dumb because obviously there's no time in the Campanola family day. I should have said, how come we didn't do it before all this? Yeah. But what's it like for you guys, like to like gym ownership? One of the questions that we always ask people, or we ask like a lot of the competitors or fighters that we've interviewed, right? Like, what do you tell people when they ask you what you do? But what do you tell people when they ask you like, hey, what is Pat's gym? Like, what is it? They think like you go in there and lift weights, right? But what do you tell them?
I mean, I come here and lift weights.
Yeah, sure, right.
So what I tell them is, you know, it's jujitsu. I say, you know, have you ever seen an MMA fight? It's when they go to the ground, that's jujitsu. Or it's really similar. Or I hate to break it down and say it's really similar to wrestling because I know that there's differences. But for someone to like conceptualize it in their brain, I think that that's how they have to kind of do that because almost everybody knows what wrestling is. But that's why I tell people basically, yeah.
I don't know if you've talked to her at all about our conversations around like when people ask us and we're just like, just kind of hide.
She's an avid listener of Thanks for Rolling.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I should have just assumed that. Yeah.
I mean, I almost feel like I have a better explanation for it than you've talked about on the podcast.
Oh, she certainly does. Yeah. She wears the merch as much as I do, and she's just way more approachable than I am. So people talk to her about it.
Yeah.
I don't know about way more approachable all the time, but Tay may say that's not the case.
I had to laugh. It hasn't come out yet, but in the episode that'll come out this weekend, we talked to my old jiu-jitsu coach, and we asked him that same question, and his answer was like, yeah, when people ask if, like, you know, hey, so I guess you can kick my ass, he's like, I say, yeah, I can. I was watching it yesterday. As I was editing it, I was laughing because it's like, well, yeah, I can actually.
It's really funny because I feel like almost everyone we've talked to is always, they just like tiptoe around it and brush it off. And John is just like, yeah, I can.
Yeah. That probably comes with age and experience, right? Like he's just like, whatever. Like, yeah, I can definitely if I have to. Yeah. Do you guys see the farm getting any bigger?
I mean,
provided Kate's not allowed to go and just bring things in.
No, I know what my limitations are. You know, the thing is that obviously we know that these animals are not always going to live forever. So I think that we'll definitely have different animals that'll cycle through, you know, throughout our lives. But no, I feel like I'm probably at my limit. I definitely know that there's no other species coming into our house. Like that's the thing that I think is, you know, it's not harder to like add on another dog or another horse or something like that because they've just fallen into the routine. Right. But there's no more species allowed into the house. Like
there's also a point, you know, there's a limit on what your amount of land can support before it starts getting just run down and destroyed by the amount of animals that are on it. And I think we're not far from that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, we did have 4 horses up until May. And it is easier having 3, I feel like. I think that the land is definitely able to handle that a little bit better. I say that, and, you know, on the way here today, I was like, so the fencing where the animals are right now could support a mini donkey because before it couldn't because our outer fencing is too high. A mini donkey would be able to just go right under. And he's like, no. He's like, who are you getting rid of? I said, I'm not getting rid of anybody, but a mini donkey would work really well.
We're on a 1 in, 1 out policy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I like that. You think that?
Yeah, it's like being at the club.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How big is a mini donkey?
The ones because I almost got one before, and he was like 33 inches high.
It's like a large dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And they're really cool. The difference, though, so donkeys are herd protectors, and mini donkeys, because of their size, just typically aren't. And I think a lot of people think that they still are. I mean, they probably could protect against like a fox or like a smaller animal, but the larger donkeys are more the like herd protectors. And I'm glad we have them because we definitely have predators that come into our paddock and into our pasture, and they don't stay long. So
will the donkeys chase them?
They'll chase them and then they'll kick them until they die.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. We haven't had them kill anybody yet.
Any humans, you mean?
I mean, no, any animals. We haven't had them kill any animals yet.
Remy came the closest.
Yeah. Yep. Remy got away from us one time, and I had been taking him out to like when I fed and stuff. So he was used to the horses. And I think that's the only reason. I think Nibbles missed on purpose. But he came real close. Yep.
Wow, that's scary.
Yep. Yep. Because he went running right up to them. And so that seems like a predator. I mean, dogs are predators.
Yeah.
And so it was not a good thing.
That's a fascinating thing. I don't think if you were to ask anybody, well, non-educated, in that field like that, people would think of donkeys as protectors, right?
Yep.
They always kind of get like
Everyone thinks they're
like
dumb.
Yeah,
or like
everybody thinks they're dumb, and they're so smart.
Yeah.
They're so smart.
Blame Shrek for that one.
Yeah.
Right? Huh.
Yep.
That's really interesting. And they're not that big. I mean,
so they're not that big, but ask them to do something they don't want to do, or try and get them to move when they don't want to move.
Yeah.
Or
They're
get them
like 300 or 400 pounds.
Yeah.
They look small.
I should say they're not that tall, right? It's probably a better way to say it. Yeah, I was impressed when we were at your house, like how muscly, right? Like I haven't been that close to a horse in a long time, and I don't really have any memory. But I was like, man, like obviously Thor's closest,
different.
right? And he was huge, but like even the other horses, I'm like, man, these guys are really powerful animals, right?
Yep.
Like,
Oh, trust me, I've been on the receiving end of it.
Yes.
They are powerful animals.
yeah. Would you consider those animals to be like social? Like when you think about dogs, right? People talk about being social animals, right? Like horses, too.
Yeah, they're herd animals. They have to have friends. Yep.
How about with people though? Like same, yeah.
Well, it depends on the horse, and I think how they've been treated in the past. Yeah,
Huh.
if a horse has not been treated well in the past, they may not be super friendly.
Yeah.
But our guys are friendly, but you have to kind of learn their quirks. Like Cliffy, I don't know that he's been always treated very well in the past, so it definitely took some time for him to trust me. Like he is it's called head shy if they won't let you touch their head. He's very head shy, especially with people he doesn't know. And so I would say it probably took about 6 months for him to like relax and let me touch his face and touch his head. You still can't make like big movements around his head because I think he thinks you're going to hit him. But we're working on that too. Like I'll go and tack him up and have him stand there and do jumping jacks next to him. And so the first couple, he's like, what is she doing? And then he kind of calms down. So kind of working on stuff like that with him.
So similar to other animals, right?
Yeah.
Like where
You just got to build the relationship, build the trust.
Yep. I mean, Annie, it took a year for her to really kind of trust me. And I always say she's like an onion. I've peeled her back a layer at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you guys, like, where do you find horses, donkeys, chickens? Chickens.com.
Chickens are easy. Yeah.
You can get chickens everywhere. Tractor Supply will have chickens during chicken season, which is in the spring. And then living around, where we do, you can find hatchlings and fertile eggs if you want to hatch your own all over the place. There's there's Facebook groups.
Yep.
Lots of Facebook chicken groups. Word of mouth. We got a bunch from a friend of a friend that wasn't too far away that breeds chickens.
Yep.
We have several sources. So if you're looking to get in the business,
No, I'm good. I'm good.
horses are a little more tricky.
I'll let you be in the business. How's that?
Kate handles the horses.
Yeah, horses. I mean, there's always people looking to get rid of horses, and we've come upon each one of our horses in a different manner, just kind of depending on what we're looking for. Jewel, I found her on Facebook. A guy was looking to get rid of both of his horses, and she, he had her since she was 3 years old, but like hadn't ridden her in a while. I think there's still a weird past there, so I found her on Facebook, and we went and got her and paid $500 for a horse that probably cost thousands when she was new. When she was new. When she was young.
She came off the assembly line.
You know, and she was awesome, and she definitely had a lot of quirks, and she taught us a lot about horse ownership. Like she was our education. But she loved our kid and just was amazing with him, and that was what was important. Thor, I found him on Craigslist and he was actually in upstate New York, and we went and saw him on our way home from visiting his mom for Mother's Day, and I went back up the next weekend and got him, and that was very interesting experience. And then Annie, there's actually a sale barn in our town, and with Annie, I was looking for, because like on Facebook and stuff, or, you know, the different groups, people are looking to get rid of horses that they no longer want for whatever reason. And a lot of times they may be old, or, you know, or way too expensive, or problems, or who knows what. And at a sale barn, you don't know what you're getting either, because they just pick them up at, you know, some auction somewhere.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times they're, I don't want to say higher quality, but I don't know. And they have a return period. So that was kind of the other piece. Like we had 3 weeks to try her out. And that if you get someone off of Facebook or from a private person, you don't have that opportunity. And I really wanted a horse that was going to like work out for us and be a good fit, and be healthy. And so we got Annie from the sale barn. It was really because of that return policy, that if she wasn't going to work out, then we could bring her back.
And it was 2 miles down the road. So hauling is a huge factor.
Yes.
We have our own trailer now, but you know, still if you're getting a horse from 2 hours away, it's
big
time and money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have our own trailer when we got Thor, and that was an expensive trip to go get him. And then Cliff, our friend, was just looking to downsize her herd. And I was like, well, I've got space kind of, because at that point we didn't really have space.
Yeah, we had actually wanted him several months before. And they
Yep.
weren't ready to get rid of him.
Yep. And so we got Cliff. And so, yeah, it just, you know, they each come however.
Speaking of Cliff, like I was saying to Pat on Thursday, I was dying laughing at the video you posted of him, like kind of looking around, like just kind of moseying.
Oh,
and
this
like,
morning he was ridiculous. He took forever to go out this morning. I made the mistake of leaving Thor's stall open while I was trying to get Cliff out. And he's like, well, I'm just going to go in here and check it out. And he took forever.
so funny.
Oh
I think
my
they're always
gosh.
just trying to see what other food might be around.
Yeah.
That might be better than theirs, even though they all get the same.
Same food.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. You ready for the hard question?
Yeah. Let's bring it.
I know
She's
you've
been studying.
Yeah. I'm going to throw you guys both a curveball. All right.
All right.
Can we talk about Madonna and Kelly Clarkson?
Certainly can.
And Kelly Clarkson. Yes.
So I don't know what it was last week before. Pat randomly texted me and he's like, I forget exactly what you asked, but it was something to the effect
I was
of,
listening to another podcast and they had asked their guest.
That's right.
Actually, no. I think the guest had asked the host his guilty pleasure favorite song or favorite artist or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was Madonna.
Yeah. So then he asked me and I was like, I don't know. I have no answer. And I was like, why? What's yours? Do you want to tell everybody what Pat's guilty pleasure music is?
Kelly Clarkson.
It's not a secret to many.
Yeah.
Is there a particular Kelly Clarkson song?
Since You've Been Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep.
So it was when we first started dating. I was in college and we had our first dog. You had whatever flip phone, and that's when you could like first start downloading like songs for ringtones. So that was my I don't remember if it was just my ringtone or if it was my
was your
alarm.
alarm.
It was my alarm.
Wow.
So it got to the point where if that song was on the radio or just playing wherever, our dog would like jump up out of a sound sleep like it was time to get up and go.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's really funny. You Pavloved them.
Yep.
Wow.
Poor Bella.
No kidding. That's really funny.
And then one of the college bars we used to go to at that time, that was always one of their like end of the night songs.
Yeah. So, is it just since you've been gone, or have you added in like I can't even think of like whatever the other song she has? Stronger, is that one of hers? Like, just so you know, everybody, I know nothing about Kelly Clarkson. Although there was a time, I will not lie, because they my buddies listen to this, they're like, "You're full of shit." There was a time when I was like, I kind of have a crush on her, like something about her that I liked. I might have even downloaded a couple songs at one point or time, but I'm pretty sure that if you look through my collection now, they've since been purged.
Oh yeah, it's not. I don't have them in my Spotify playlist.
I don't believe you.
I'll definitely listen to it when it comes on. Yeah, it's mostly that song, but I've dabbled in some of the others.
Yeah, I think at the time you were into more than just that song. So something about me,
well, there weren't many of,
yeah.
Like that was, I think, her first album, so there was only a few songs.
Yeah.
I've kind of trailed off since then.
Yeah.
I'm still caught in time 20 years ago.
I'm not good with like artists and artist names and stuff. I will know what songs I like, but if you ask me who plays that or whatever, I usually have no idea. This is one I will never forget.
So funny. So yours is
Madonna, Like a Prayer.
And hers goes back to what we had mentioned before, the things she was not allowed to do or have as a child.
Yeah.
One of them was not watching MTV.
Correct.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. But our babysitter, where we got on the bus in the morning, had MTV playing the whole time. So, here I am, second, third grade, watching Madonna before getting on the bus in the morning.
Yeah. So to me, that's not even a guilty pleasure. It's like a good song.
It's a great song. Yeah. And I don't even think you had ever really listened to it before you heard that on the podcast and you were just laughing about it. But yeah, it's a great song. Yep. My sister and I both.
My sister and I, she's 3 or 4 years younger than I am. I remember I can still remember it, like what the tape looked like. I don't even remember which album it was, frankly, of Madonna's, but I had it. Mm-hmm. And,
I wasn't allowed to have it.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah,
huh?
no.
I lived on MTV when I was a kid.
Yep.
Oh my God. Constantly.
We didn't even have cable until I don't even know when, but it certainly wasn't when I was that young.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Madonna.
No.
How about her other songs?
Yeah. I like her other songs, but the same thing, like I would have a hard time naming them off right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So we just cracked the code open, guys, on some interesting facts. So, have you been, true or false, you have been thinking about what your walkout song would be?
True.
Yeah. And is it Madonna?
No.
Okay. All right. So, picture yourself as a professional MMA fighter. You're going to have a super fight in jiu-jitsu.
The lights go out.
The lights go out.
They hit the music.
Right. They hit the music.
What do we hear?
Yep. That was good. We haven't never set the scene like that before, but I like it. I like setting the scene.
Here Comes the Boom. Because it cracks me up.
That's a good one.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good.
I love that movie, and that would absolutely be it.
So a few years ago, I had set Andrew up with a super fight. I think it was I think I was competing at the same time, so I'd set it all up, and the guy asked for our walkout music, so I didn't even consult Andrew. I just sent in "Here Comes the Boom" for his music.
That's great. That's really.
The problem was though, it's such a slow build that he was like in the ring and it was gone by the time it got to "Here Comes the Boom." So you'd have to get them to
just the chorus
to play the chorus.
Yeah.
Yep.
She likes that because of the movie "Here Comes the Boom."
Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say, how long did it take you to come up with that, or did you know immediately?
Immediately.
Yeah?
That's always been my answer. Yeah. Did you know that's
I didn't
what I
know,
was
but
say?
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
With how much we've watched that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I was just on the other night. And you came home. I'm sitting there watching it.
I honestly don't think I've seen the whole thing ever.
Oh,
It's hilarious.
So good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has Boss Rutan.
Yeah.
It's
He's his coach, isn't he?
Yeah.
Bob from the coach. Yeah.
And he's kind of acting, but he's really just himself.
Yeah.
it's so good.
I think they shot some of that in Boston.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. One of the school that they like shoot it all around is a school in Boston.
Yeah.
They have Mark Delagrate in there.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because I remember when that
terrible
was
Boston accent.
Yep. I remember when I was living in that area. Like that was every time there would be like a big movie production, like that was a big thing. And I remember that everyone talking about, like probably knew like a lot of extras and PAs who were working on that movie at the time.
Yep.
Add it to the playlist.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're building a playlist. I don't know
Yep.
if you've heard this. It's funny because you guys, almost everybody has had an answer for this. I have no answer for this song. Like, I probably changed it in my head 25 times. Even today on the drive in, I was like, oh, this would be a pretty cool walkout song.
Well, we've talked to people that have been the same. Like Nate was saying, like for all of his MMA fights, I don't think he's repeated any songs. He always switch whatever he's feeling at the time. And then you have some people that it's like, it's always this.
Yeah. Yep.
I honestly was trying to come up with a different song because I figured he would be like, I know what she's going to pick.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really thought about it,
but
it didn't surprise.
Yeah. But I couldn't come up with anything else. Probably something by Dropkick Murphys if I was going to do something different.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that's not one of yours, actually.
We've talked about it. It's the problem with competing around here. Like you'll hear shipping up to Boston is 4 walkout songs before your match is even up.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a backup just in case, like Stranglehold.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And like that happened at Enigma. There was a couple of repeats.
Yeah.
Oh, the big one was the Johnny Cash song.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Which, now I'm blanking, but I know we were singing it that night.
Yeah.
We were joking about the song.
And I'm sure because one of them was the main event guy, Sean. So I'm sure that's probably just his song, and someone on the undercard had swiped it.
Right.
Just doesn't hit the same.
Yep. Do we miss any standard questions? I think I actually asked the other one pretty early. What was the other? What else do we miss?
Yeah, I think that covers it. We hit the main ones.
Yeah.
Not our usual podcast. Not much jiu-jitsu talk. Expand our audience.
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you feel about leg locks? a viable jiu-jitsu attack?
Something I wouldn't be able to comment on. I know that my kid tried to get me in a rear naked choke walking down the stairs the other day, and that did not go well for him.
Did you hand fight?
No.
Just smash him back in the
Get off of me. No, I literally was 3 steps down in motion going down the stairs, and he jumped on me from the behind. I'm like, so you're trying to throw me down the stairs right now? No, we're not doing this today. Nope.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right.
So Kate's trying to grow her social media presence for the farm. She's been pumping out the content. So you can find her on Instagram at Rocky Woods Farm. So I don't think we mentioned that.
We didn't even mention that.
Our farm is Rocky Woods Farm.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had put out a little poll.
Yep.
And that was a few options.
Tay's pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What were some of the other options?
Campanola
land?
No.
That would have been funny.
One of them was, and I'm not going to say
I don't remember.
There was one that means family in Amharic, which is the primary language in Ethiopia. And Tay is Ethiopian, for those who don't know. But I can't remember what the wording of it was, so I'm not going to even try right now. I don't
remember any of them, but
I know that was one of them.
We live in the woods and have an abundance of rocks.
Yeah, so many rocks.
Yeah, so Kate's on Instagram at Rocky Woods Farm. We also have a YouTube channel for the farm that needs some attention. I think if you just search Rocky Woods Farm on YouTube, it will pop up. That's also where you can find Tay's podcast, Lightsabers, Jokes, and More, which has been on hiatus, but he just hit us up last night that he's got some content to record. So
are you going to be allowed on? Or
we're still negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Mom takes the producer's seat instead.
Apparently, I'm a guest on the next podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I was informed last night.
Are you a big fan of lightsabers?
He wants to start focusing on the and more part specifically,
Yes.
he told us.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to be intrigued to see what that is.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah, to be determined.
Depends on how organized he is.
I had my Lightsabers, Jokes, and More t-shirt on one day. Uh-huh. And I was, I think, a supermarket, and this dude was like, "Oh man, that's awesome!" So pretty funny. So
I have mine on right now, but it was chilly out, so got my sweatshirt on over it.
All right, and to support this podcast, make sure you find us on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a rating, comments, likes, all of the feedback. It all helps.
Yep.
All right, Kate.
You're not going to try to do the Instagram?
No, I was telling her this morning how many times we screwed that up the other night and had to look it up and still got it wrong.
I cut it out of the podcast, by the way. I just left just the part where we got it right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you guys for having me on. It was very exciting.
Thanks, Kate.
All right.
Fun.
Thanks, Kate.